Welcome back, everyone, to episode 45 of the Minot Business Podcast, presented by Bennett Creative Media. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, and on the show today, we have Gabriel Mejia. Gabriel, how's it going?
It's going great. Good job on the pronunciation there.
I wanted to make sure I got it right.
Take.
Yeah, we only do first takes on the show. Before we get started, if you have not already, please rate and review the show. If you could take 5 seconds to leave us a rating and review, it really helps spread the word to new audiences and attract new guests for you guys each and every single week. So I really appreciate the support. Let's get into the questions now. I'll just throw you to the wolves here. So for people that don't know, what do you do?
So most people here in Minot knows me as kind of the hotel corporate guy. I've been doing hotels pretty much my whole career. Just recently, I started, I would say the last few years, I started monetizing on my art side and my creative side, and currently in limbo trying to do everything at the same time. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So how did you get into, if we start from the beginning, how did you get into the business world? You got into the corporate side, and then we'll transition into the creative side. But how did you even get started in the whole business world?
So in the business world, it's honestly, it's pretty straightforward. I started with being a front desk agent, and then I kind of just worked my way up. I've pretty much, when it comes to a hotel, I've done everything from sales to housekeeping to maintenance. There's not any job that I haven't done. I have a distinct management philosophy where we start from the bottom up, and I'm not too good of, just because I have a business degree doesn't mean I can't plunge a toilet. So
yeah. And I think there's a saying that someone asked a janitor at NASA, and I feel like I've said this on the show before, but asked a janitor at NASA, what are you doing? And he said, help sending someone to the moon. So everyone having that whole philosophy of we're all working toward the same goal, whether you are plunging a toilet or you are the manager. So how are you originally from Minot then?
So originally from Miami, I moved here the year after the flood.
Okay.
I keep saying 8 years, but I think I'm like year 11 now. So, it kind of
just caps at 8.
Yeah. And I do believe that on especially like in the hotel world, I believe everyone is in sales. The housekeeper, as they're checking out, that's the last person that they see.
Yeah.
Or sometimes that's the first person they see when they're checking into their room. Everybody's in sales. So if a housekeeper can give me a lead, to give the front desk a lead and give the salesperson a lead, everyone is in sales. So I do believe in that philosophy.
Okay, that's pretty sweet then. So pivoting into the creative side of things, the photography side, when did you know that you were interested in photography? When did that come about?
Well, it actually backtrack a couple years before that. I've done some successful campaigns for a couple different businesses that I worked with social media, specifically in other businesses. And I thought I just have that type of addictive personality. And if I do something, I go all in. I can't just do things halfway. So fast forward, I decided to let's start an Instagram page. Now, I just can't just have an Instagram page and take pictures of what I ate yesterday, because that's what everybody does. I just have a different type of mentality where, like, if I'm going to start an Instagram page, how can I grow to X amount? How can I monetize this? And what's my quickest path to get there? So on my personal Instagram, I've amassed a little bit of a following. I've done a couple of talks with North Dakota State Tourism. I was like a speaker, a little TED talk on teaching people how to monetize their personal Instagram. So I've done a couple brand deals with smaller sock companies. My niche was the kind of the fashion niche with men's fashion.
Okay.
Some suit wear and some casual wear. And I've transitioned. I worked with dozens and dozens of different companies, from socks to all the way up to a blue chip sponsor when I did a deal with Gillette. So
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Because I've been following you on Instagram for a little bit now, and you've amassed a following, like you said, a little bit bigger than most people have, in this area. Is there any tips you can give? What would, if you had to say like 3 tips to start to grow that account, whether it be a personal account or a business account, what are some things that you've learned along the way?
Basically, you have to pick a niche, and you have to niche down as quickly as possible and be hyper focused on that niche. While I have many interests, MMA, hip hop, I have tons of interests. I really, on my Instagram page, is only going to be one niche, and that's very, very specific. The next thing is you want to be as authentic as possible. Share yourself as best as you can. And 3, you have to stand out. I think for me, that's kind of where it led to my photography journey. I realized that I can only take so much pictures of downtown Minot, right? So how do I compete with that guy from England with that nice suit, and he's in front of the Louvre and taking all these pictures? I can't. The reason is, so I started incorporating Photoshop.
Okay.
Taught myself how to do Photoshop, and I started mixing, regular pictures with art. I started with a cell phone. Then I realized after a certain while, you need a better quality picture so I can use it in Photoshop.
Yep.
So then I went to a 60D, 80D, and then kind of worked my way up. At some point, after I got some sponsorships and did some speaking on that, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that. This is a business podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, let's say, okay, let's take this watch, for example. So let's say you're,
I was eyeing it. It looks like it is a nice watch.
It's not. It's cheap. It doesn't
Looks
matter.
nice.
But that's not the point. Let's say you're a second generation watchmaker, third generation, right? You inherited your grandfather's watch company.
Mm-hmm.
You guys take pride in what you do. You're based out of Birmingham, England, and you hand make every single watch. You go for the quartz movement or whatever. You put different leather straps, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know that you need to be an online presence because obviously you're the younger one. You understand the value of that, right?
Yep.
So you're going to start an Instagram page, right? So here's where how to monetize, I guess comes into play. How do you compete with the brand called The Fifth or the G-Shocks of the world when you look at their Instagram page and they got millions and millions of followers?
Yeah.
You obviously need content, right? And you being a video guy, you know exactly the what content is worth.
Yeah.
Instagram is a page full of pictures at the time. Now it's video as well. So you need to start an Instagram page. You start it, great. You put a couple pictures up and you got no followers. Okay, how do you continue this? Well, you need better quality pictures. Let me hire a photographer. Okay,
Yep.
And I want to showcase 6 of my watches to really show and highlight what the beauty of our watches because they're all 100% handmade, right?
Yep.
So you want to hire a photographer for 4 hours. Okay, how much is that going to cost? Let's say $800.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you obviously want to have a model. Preferably 2 models because you don't want to have the same hand or the same guy all over your Instagram page.
That's one thing I've seen is a lot of accounts, they have limited number of models and it's like, okay, well, it's the same guy or girl that I'm seeing in every photo.
1000%. So you want to hire at least 2 to 3 models. So how much is a model for 4 hours? Let's just say super cheap. It's a friend, $200 for 4 hours, 2 models. You're looking at another $400. So now you've invested $1,200. And in the results, the photographer will take the pictures. We'll do some lifestyle pictures because you're smart. You know that a picture of a watch it's going to sell, sure, but you're going to get more of if you're selling a lifestyle. So a picture of the watch in a hand holding a briefcase, that's going to sell a little bit more, right?
I feel like the more photos and content that people are in sells better than just, a watch sitting on a desk.
1000%. And then if you look at any metric, any analytics, everything will tell you that story. So now you've invested $1,400 and you got back 30 pictures that you can use as content for your Instagram page, right?
Yep.
Does that translate into sales? Maybe. Sure. Does it translate to followers? Sure. You can do that. Or let's say I find this guy from Minot, North Dakota, and even though I'm from England.
Yep.
And, I sell my watches for $300 to $400, but my cost really it's $127 landed in the US, maybe another $25. Let's go $150.
Okay.
Or I see him and he has, doesn't matter, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 followers, all targeted, within the fashion niche, 80% male demographic. Hey, guess what? That's my demographic, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I can send him that watch for $127, my cost. He's going to create all the content for me. And not only that, he is marketing my specific watch to people that are already interested in the fashion industry because that's what his following is, right?
His audience.
It cost me $127. I got the content out of it. Plus, he's actually sending traffic to my website where I can translate into sales. Take a look in his demographics. I understand that he has an 80% United States demographic because that's what you want because that's where the dollar is, right?
Yep.
You can't do a sponsorship with Gillette, faking an audience because Gillette will, guess what? They're gonna analyze your page from top to bottom and they're gonna know where everybody, if they're left-handed, right-handed, if they're from America or from India, because Indian followers isn't worth anything. So they need to be able to monetize it. So it becomes a lot cheaper and makes a lot more sense for the brand to send their watch out to people.
Yeah.
Now, after a while, you create a certain following that sometimes, okay, I got your $300 pair of handmade Italian shoes, but you know what? I really think I bring a value based on the discount codes that I've used for other brands. I think I could bring you some sales. I'm going to need some money on top of that. Yeah. Oh, you want a story? It's going to cost a little bit more too. Yeah. So that's you work your way up. So it was actually cool. I grew a couple pages. One of them for a barber page of mine, a friend of mine's, and I wanted to grow for free just to kind of test the subject. Yeah. I got his first brand deal way before I got mine, and he had 150 followers, and you got a brand deal from like a pomade company.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's not the size of the audience that you have, it's the quality.
Yeah.
And that's everything.
150 followers that actually care about this person or page.
Well, he has a 99% male demographic. I mean, it's all males. He's just a barber, right?
Yeah.
So it's very high specific. And they just sent him a package of pomades. It wasn't like they spent a lot of money on it. They didn't give him any money, sure, but this is his first brand deal within 10 days of starting his Instagram page. And it was cool for me because I'm like, oh man, it took me a year and a half to get my first brand deal, but you start perfecting your pitches, you start getting a little bit better. Yeah. So.
Okay. Because I'm a huge fan of siphoning audiences. So like this brand that we're talking about, this watch company, they're using the audience or this creator's audience to market themselves. I mean, that's honestly what this podcast is. People that enjoy you and know you and your family are going to watch this show and eventually come back and hopefully watch more of the episodes. So I'm a huge proponent of actually siphoning the audiences. So super cool that you gave that breakdown because I think that's actionable advice that people can actually use. As far as you obviously know all these skills, but as far as going into the business startup now, what is the business that we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah. So what got me into photography is obviously I wanted to get better just for my own personal content. Then my Photoshop skills built a certain level where other people are asking me, other photographers or other creators are asking me, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? So I start charging for that. And then at some point I started coming to a realization, instead of editing for other people, can I just take the pictures myself and just get the whole part of the business? So
you were getting photos from other people and then editing them.
Right. Yeah. Because my Photoshop skills it got to a point where I can do that, or editing skills in general, your color grading and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I bought my camera, started upgrading, did a job, got some money, reinvested it, upgraded the camera, took a big job with an artist called Russ in Minneapolis. Didn't have the equipment for it. So then I decided to buy a Canon R5 and spend $3,500 because I needed it for that job. But I say yes first and then I'll figure it out later. Yeah, absolutely. And now you got to the point where, okay, I have to monetize because the equipment is very expensive. And, you kind of just keep working your way up and keep growing your business as best as you can.
That's one thing that I didn't realize going into the photo and video world is that I thought, I'm just going to need this little bit of equipment and then I'll be good to go. And then you realize, oh man, I'm in this deep. Like cameras are thousands of dollars, lenses are thousands of dollars. Then you need lighting. Then you need tripods.
You're shooting 4K video. Is your computer going to handle it?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you need to upgrade computers now? There's buffering time. Think about it. Time is money, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So then talking about your business a little bit, when did you know? Was there a point when you knew that you wanted to monetize? Was it just kind of when you started incurring those costs?
Yeah, absolutely. It's expensive, right? So I wanted to help offset the cost. When I first started, I did a senior session for a mom, and I didn't know what to charge. You know what I mean? This is like my first real client. This is years ago, before I even had a website or anything.
Yeah.
And I did a senior session for them, and I charged them X amount of price, and they paid me double what I asked for.
Yeah.
And I said, no, why? And she's like, no, this is the going rate for a senior session. And they paid me. And then that money, I took it, and it wasn't even like it was a lot, but at the time it felt like a lot. Right.
Yeah. Well, the first few jobs you get paid for, you're like, I can't believe someone's paying
when
me
it's at the time, I think it was like, I don't know, $5.99 or something like that they gave. And I just like, maybe I should take this a little bit seriously. So I took that money, I bought a $2,200 laptop, and then I started a website because of that company. And that lady alone inspired me to like, I think I can do this. And as far as in the photography world, it's all about being obsessed. I can't explain it and anything else other than an obsession. People can say passionate, sure.
Yep.
But it's an obsession. And when I take a picture and I really try to capture that moment or bring it somebody's what they have a picture in mind into reality, especially some of the stuff that I do. I had a client that asked me, hey, can you put me inside of a cloud? Right. So, and then I was like, I think I can do that. So we shot some practical shots with clouds all around her. I put lights on the inside, and then did a fantasy background with the Photoshop, and really try to create more of an art piece than anything.
I was gonna say, that's what I really like about your work is that you can go in a studio, take a headshot on a black background, boom, you're in and you're out. But the way that you're utilizing these creative aspects to get unique photos that you're not seeing every day is probably my favorite part of your work. I want to go back a little bit to the startup of your business. So you're obviously working this full-time job with the Grand. Can you talk a little bit about, I know a lot of people think that if I'm going to start a business, I have to go full-fledged, dive into it, but talk a little bit about how you can start something as a side hustle and then grow into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit older. I'm not young and spry and 20 can take those risks. So I have to be, wise with my decisions that I do make. I have a house, we got kids, mortgages. I mean, life hits us all. So I have to make, certain decisions based off that. There's no other way. If you're going to have a hobby, I don't care what your hobby is, you might as well monetize it. Like, for me, it started with Instagram and, just having an Instagram page. If I'm going to have social media, I might as well monetize it. So I think that's the best of both worlds. I mean, it is a little bit of a balance, but you have to be really passionate about it, about growing, about wanting to get better.
Yeah. And I think it is something that you can start on the side. Everyone has something that they really love. I really love movies. That's why I went into the video world. Obviously, I'm not filming Hollywood blockbusters with
not yet.
Michael Bay, maybe one day. But that's what I went into. I really like movies. I really like the video world. So find that thing that you're super interested and then dive into that. What have been, some of the biggest challenges that you've had moving through your business from the beginning to where you're at now? Is there anything that sticks out?
I guess the biggest challenge here is time management. Especially on the editing side. Sometimes if I'm shooting for a fashion magazine or something and they expect a certain amount of skin retouching, for example, it's very easy to do. Let me add my preset and then walk away. Unfortunately, that's not the way my brain works. I'm going to look as a perfectionist, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be looking at the skin and I know that these pores are a little bit bigger. How do I make the pores smaller? But there's a fine line. You don't want to over retouch because then it looks fake, right?
Plasticky.
Yeah. So that's where the art form comes in because you want to show as much texture as possible on the skin, but you also want to correct some of the rednesses in different areas of the face.
Yeah.
But when you get to certain levels, that's the kind of retouching that you expect, that people expect if they're going to pay you good money. And that's one of the things that I really liked. I can take it back to specifically, we did we had Carissa Marie Floral, which she'd be a great guest too on the show. She's a florist designer here in town. And she had an idea with, why don't we do a floral shoot? I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I apologize.
Hey, we like to keep it natural here.
Can
you answer? Put them on the show. Put them on speaker. You're on speaker.
She had an idea where why don't we do a floral shoot? And then I started putting some thought to it and we were like collabing and thinking of different ideas. And I'm like, why don't we make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah.
How can we get these on magazines? Can we bring in 2 models? Can we incorporate other people? So that idea led to, we did a floral shoot. We had 2 models, one pregnant, one not.
Yep.
We had makeup by Amy DePrado. So we had a makeup artist on set.
Okay.
We had Michelle F. Jewelry downtown donated a couple pieces for the shoot. So now we got like these beautiful, inspirational women business owners. And then there's me, all working together for one goal. And it's all for just make the art that much better. Right. Yeah. And when she's incorporating $1,200 of flowers in a photo shoot and I'm taking a picture, there's no greater feeling than watching 4 people fix somebody's hair and the stuff. And then I take another
perfect.
picture.
Yeah.
And it was like, there's no reason just because we're from Minot, North Dakota, that we can't compete on a fashion level or an art level with, some of the magazines that got sold to ended up selling in Los Angeles was one of them. We're competing with New York. We're competing with LA. We're competing with Birmingham, England. Like that's the kind of competitor I am. There's no reason just because we're from the West doesn't mean we're not good in the art scene or we're not talented in what we do.
So you seem like the person that you can start a project small, but you always want to add on to it, make it the best thing it can be. Is that true?
Absolutely. Even, I don't know how you are with editing, but I will take a picture today and I'm thinking like, wow, this is genuinely my best work. Yeah. 8 months from now, I look back at that picture and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I even understand? Did I even know what editing is?
It's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
What am I? Just saturation on the color? Like, what did I do? I'm just a constant perfectionist and wanting to get better.
It's funny because I do the same exact thing. I look at a video, I'm like, this video is awesome. And then a year down the road, I'm like, I can't believe anyone paid me to do that. So you've talked a lot about the creative aspect of things. How do you manage the creative aspect? And now you obviously have to handle the business side of things too. Do you think your previous work helped out in that area, or how do you manage the two?
1000%. I don't think I'd be where owning a commercial space downtown for my photography if I didn't have the business skills that I've acquired, 10, 15 years of my life. And that's kind of the hardest part, I think, for people when they want to be an artist. The people don't want to have the artist salary, and that's the problem. But this is a business, and your equipment is expensive,
Yeah.
So how can we help get you there? And the answer to that is really you have to sell yourself, and you have to believe in yourself that you're worth the money that you're charging, and you're giving them actually a better value. You want to put yourself in a position where people can't afford not to do a shoot with you. And that's really the key.
I want to dive into pricing a little bit, but before we do that, we're going to hear from this week's sponsor, Midco. Is your business moving up and to the right? Put Midco's business technology to work for you so you never have a slow day at the office. From premium internet and phone plans to custom private networking and advertising, they have a solution for every type of business, large or small. Get paired with an account representative to create your suite of services and make the switch with ease with dedicated business client fulfillment and support teams. No data caps, flexible contracts with month-to-month or long-term options, built-in DDoS protection, and more. Explore services and request a free consultation at midco.com/business today. I've been a Midco user ever since I started my business, ever since I bought my house, the studio, and honestly, I have had no issues with Midco. So if you guys are looking to check that out, midco.com/business. Okay, so let's get back into the questions here a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the pricing, like you mentioned before, the ad read. I think in the beginning, a lot of artists, you always hear the starving artist, right? How did you go about in the beginning the prices or pricing your services? Because I think it really boils down to you have to charge a little bit more than you think you should be in the beginning, because everyone wants to do it. I'll do it for $100, but there has to be a point when you realize I have to start charging more money.
Yeah, and I think especially with photography, it tells you pretty plainly how much you should be charging, because one, you look at the market, you look at what everybody else is charging. And, since I was a beginner or a new person is a beginner, they think that maybe their skills are not up to that task.
Yeah.
And so they'll underprice themselves a little bit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they're 6 hours or 2 hours editing one picture and going and coming back, and then they realize, I think I got to charge more because I charge $100 for this. Yeah, I was there 25 minutes, but they're not counting the 4.5 hours that they spent editing that set.
Yeah,
and that's where you really got to manage exactly how much time you're spending on it, and really it'll give you a better perspective. I spent 6 hours on this 25-minute job, so this is $100 worth it.
And that's one thing I realized. I would always charge for editing time, and let's say, okay, I thought this video was going to take 8 hours to edit. I didn't realize, okay, the client's going to come back with revisions. That's going to tag on another 2 hours. Maybe you have 2 rounds of revisions. Okay, now you're going to have 4 hours onto there. And then at the beginning, I wasn't charging for pre-production. You obviously have to do all the scripting, the writing. For you, I'm sure you have to, go get props or do any, research on what you want it to look like. And those are things that you forget to charge about, or not charge about, but you forget to charge the client for.
Right. And to be honest, I still struggle with that to this day, just because I feel like when I see those full-time photographers, and we have many great ones here in Minot, which I really love and admire. I feel like, well, maybe I'm not good enough as them. And sometimes you have this belief in yourself, you have to have that belief in yourself. Well, why not? I am good at them. I am as good as them.
Why can't you be on the same playing field as them? That's what I think. And obviously if I'm comparing myself to Quentin Tarantino, to me, there's obviously a gap there, but I don't think the gap is as big as people think on the local level and in the market that you're currently in. I want to ask you a question. This has been floating around the internet for a while. It's, AI is kind of diving into the creative side of things. What are your thoughts on that? I think I saw a TikTok of AI generated headshots. You upload 10 photos and boom, you have 80 headshots. It's like me skiing, and then me in an office, and then me at a water park.
I've seen many of those. There's a really good AI website that wedding photographers are using. I'm not actually a wedding photographer, but
okay.
So usually in a wedding, you'll have between 1,000 and 1,500 pictures to edit.
Yeah.
And that's why weddings are so expensive, because you're editing a lot of pictures. But there's these companies where you can go and pay for pennies on the dollars. They'll edit your favorite wedding photographer, or they'll analyze your style, mm-hmm. and then they'll basically AI will do it for you. I don't know if you're familiar with ChatGPT.
Yep. I use it all the time.
I'm big on the technology side. Like I said, I have a lot of interest. So ChatGPT, I'm using right now I look for ways to try to incorporate my chat GPT the more I can. So my website now is optimized for SEO. I know I needed to have a blog because I want more SEO and more traffic to my website. Well, I'm not a writer. How can I get some of my ideas? I definitely use ChatGPT to help me come up with some of these articles and ideas. My email responses, when a client does an inquiry, hey, what dates are you looking for? What kind are you looking like? My responses, I use ChatGPT as templates. I don't even Google things anymore. I am literally looking for any reason to use AI because I want to make my time faster and get it shorter. I think ultimately AI would just be another tool in a creator's basket that they can use, and it's only going to get better and better.
How do you think business owners can make that mindset shift that this is a tool that can help them and not hurt them? Because I've had a lot of conversations with business owners and they think it's stealing jobs. Whereas myself, the questions I have for this specific podcast episode are from ChatGPT. I typed in your bio, kind of what you do, and said generate 30 questions. And I tweaked them a little bit here and there, but it saved me. Usually before ChatGPT, it took me an hour to come up with all these questions around that. And now it took me 10, 15 minutes.
I think it's only going to make us more productive, to be perfectly honest. I'll give you an example of on the business side. I had an employee come to me and they asked for, it wasn't a letter of recommendation. It was a letter of a character witness letter that they needed for a new apartment that they're trying to get, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, Gabe, can you give me can you be witness to whatever letter that they need from me being the manager at the hotel? And can you write me a letter of that? So normally you come to my office and you ask me for a letter of recommendation. What I would do is I like to do things right away just because I don't know if it's ADD or what, but if I don't get it done now, I feel like
forget about it.
Yes, 100%. So I was like, okay, let's sit down. Let's get to it. So my normal process would be you sit down in front of me. I'm going to Google character witness templates on Google, right?
Yep.
And then the first one's an ad, so I'm going to skip that one, right? So then I'm going to hit this one. Okay, this one's free. Okay, I go to hit download and they're like, oh no, 99 cents. So I'm like, okay, I can't use this site. So then I back up and then I go to the second one and I click that one. Oh, this one had to pay too. Okay, I click the third one.
Yep.
Okay, this one's free. I can copy and paste it. So then I copy and paste it to Word. Okay, then I use their name. I got the letterhead. Okay, figure out the right way to the letterhead and then hit print. That process is about 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Now, this last time, this was like 3 weeks ago when I needed that witness letter. I sat them down. I opened up ChatGPT. I asked her what her name was, first name, last name. I need a character witness letter of this that will show, that will give her a good standing and testament to her character.
Yeah.
ChatGPT searched the internet for me. It wrote everything that I needed to do with their name included. I literally hit copy and print, and that was a minute and a half.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's
the amount
difference.
Of time saving.
That's the difference. To hear a day that somebody would say like Google is dead is kind of crazy.
I know,
because Googling is such ingrained a part of who we are
since the internet started.
But now ChatGPT is just that much more efficient. Where I don't see another way around it. And I know Google's right now working on their own AI, the Bard. I think there's called, and it's just going to make everybody that much more efficient.
I really want to stress to business owners, like, you have to at least start diving into it, trying it, see if it can help you. I know it can help you for sure, but it's just where it can plug in. I use it a ton for, I have to create video ideas for clients, even just to get you started. Like, hey, give me 5 video ideas on this niche that are under a minute. It's just so much. It takes away the brain power of having to think and trying to figure out what to do, and the speed, like you said, which I love.
I think people are worried about the jobs being taken away. I think it's just going to be another tool in a coder's back pocket, and it's going to make us more efficient. But more importantly, what I wanted to say is ChatGPT is just going to make us. It's almost like your brainstorming buddy. Yeah. You can use it for brainstorming. You can use it for script writing. You can right now type in ChatGPT. I put make a video about best potatoes in the world in the style of Mr. Beast, right? And it wrote a whole YouTube script out. It had not only that, it had camera angles. It had the shot list. Yep. It said, "Hi here, Mr. Beast here, and I'm here with 5 potatoes." And it just keeps going and going and going. And it really, really is.
It's crazy powerful.
Eye-opening.
And once the news station here in Minot they came and interviewed me and kind of just showing them how to use it. And the lady that was filming was absolutely baffled. She'd never used it before. And she's like, "This is insane." I was like, "Write me a lovely birthday text for my mom that's very sincere, and it crafted it out. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is."
Don't you love blowing people's mind like that?
Oh yeah.
So I did that with is a weightlifter, and he paid $100 a week for this meal plan, very specific to him. I said, "Why is it so expensive?" He's like, "It's hyper specific to his body type, his physique, and his goals that he's trying to get."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll take that as a challenge. So I put him on ChatGPT, and I think that's what's going to be a monetizable skill is prompting. Prompting is how you talk to ChatGPT and really prep them to get the answers that you want.
Yeah.
If you write ChatGPT, write me a meal plan, it'll be very generic. But if you want hyper specific, you're going to be, hey, ChatGPT, act as a personal trainer, specializing in a registered dietitian for the last 20 years. Do you understand? And it'll be like, yes. Okay. I weigh 145 pounds and I'm of Hispanic heritage and I'm trying to get from 145 to 165. Can you do that for me? Can you write a 7-day meal plan? He said, yes. It wrote it all in front of him. And then I said, here's not with the mind blowing part. I said, actually, can you give me a macro breakdowns for the first 3 days? So then it broke down all the macros.
Yeah.
So then he's just like, at this point, he's like, what's
going on? Yeah.
Then the next step is, you know what? I don't like that. Can you make it ketogenic? And it didn't complain. It just rewrote the whole thing and it made the exact same thing ketogenic.
It's crazy. Yeah, because that's the big thing is prompting. You can type in there, write me 5 jokes. But if you say, okay, write me 5 jokes, but they have to be under 100 characters and it has to be, clean. I don't want any swear words. And you give it these prompts, that's when you're going to actually get the answers out of it. Because I've had people tell me, well, I'm getting this the same answers. I'm like, well, how much info are you actually giving it? How much detail are you giving it?
Prompting is a skill. You can say even in the style of Andrew Schultz, a comedian that I like.
Yep.
And it'll understand who Andrew Schultz is, kind of get the gist of his comment, and it'll try to do its best to try to come up with that.
And Andrew Schultz is hilarious, man.
Yeah, his
YouTube special.
He's the greatest.
I've watched it like 5 or 6 times. So talking about the business a little bit more, how do you have any advice to effectively time manage? Here's the creative side, the business side, you have a full-time job. How do you go about managing that? Or is it just chaos?
Well, a lot of times it is chaos, but for me, I edit mostly at night. And I have to, sometimes if I'm getting too stuck on a picture or a particular project, I don't know about you, but I have to walk away. I think sometimes walking away and getting a coffee, taking a coffee break or whatever, and then coming back to it and seeing with a fresh pair of eyes, you're like, okay, I know what I need to do. But if you get in a creative rut, you just have to stop, do something else for a second, go to the gym, 30 minutes and come back. And you just got to be efficient. And if you're not being efficient, instead of trying to force yourself those 3 hours to try to get through that edit, to get through that video, just stop, reset, refresh the brain and come back with a new pair of eyes.
Because sitting in front of the computer for hours and hours does tend to be a little bit tedious, where taking those breaks is awesome. Have you ever had a point where you've had burnout, like really burnt out, like you went hard for a couple weeks, couple months, and then you just needed a break?
Yeah, sure. And I think part of when this business, it's ups and downs for sure.
Yeah.
It's not like it's all smooth sailing. It's happy. The more happier projects you get, the more you got to edit. And then there's 3 clients waiting for you to do their edits while you're trying to do your passion project. Passion projects are important. I think that's what helps, at least for me, it helps me drive my creative side a little bit more. Sometimes I'll just get 5 maternity shoots in a row and I can't really be creative as much as I want to. So I think having a side passion project that you're really passionate about, it's also important too, to kind of break up the monotony.
Do you think doing those passion projects gets you the jobs in the future? Because I've done a couple passion projects where it's landed me pretty big video jobs.
1000%. And because you're not going to get the skills of what you want to end up doing. You have to start doing videos or photography like the people you want to get to. And in order to do that, you just got to do it yourself. Yeah. And sometimes it's going to take your time. And sometimes that's going to be for free. And sometimes you might have to ask a friend, hey, can you model me for this specific project, for this specific thing that I want to do? But you're not going to get better if you don't do it. You're not going to get better at editing if you don't edit. You have to edit. You have to shoot. You have to learn different transitions. YouTube is a great resource. I mean,
YouTube University, man.
You can use, you're talking to, it's an age where that's where people's school is. That's where I'm school. If I want to learn a specific thing, I go to YouTube, and then I only learn not by watching. I do it. You have to do it. You have to get out and do it.
And I think a lot of people watch all these videos and they're like, oh, I've watched all this, but how much are you actually putting into action? Because I think experience is the best teacher. I almost compare it to people that say dress for the job you want. It's create the projects that you want to work on. If I want to start making documentaries, well, how about I go out there and make a documentary on, whatever it might be. So I think it is just like, dressing for the job you want. As far as fostering these relationships with local models and businesses and people you can collaborate with, how do you go about doing that? And how can someone maybe that's just starting a business also start to get into that world?
At the end of the day, I think it's a value exchange, and especially on the creative side, when you meet the right business owner, you'll know right away from meeting them, like, hey, I think I click with this guy. I have a crazy idea. Who do I think would be up for this? I'm like, let me call Easton Bennett. Yeah. He's a little weird. Let's do this. Let's see if he's interested. And if he's interested, yeah, it should be a value exchange for both of you, and both of you should get something out of it. I think that's what the best relationships.
And I think it's more so, like you said, a partnership where you both are enjoying doing it rather than me calling on you for a favor.
Exactly. I wouldn't ask you to do something that you're not getting a value of. If I do ask you something that you're not getting value of, then I'll pay you. Right. Yeah. That's what the thing is.
What is some of the best advice you've gotten being a business owner or received from a different business owner?
This one has been from actually other photographers in the area. It's charge what you're worth. And I think that's the hardest part. It's probably going to be an ever growing thing, because you always think, oh, well, maybe I'm not that good as this guy or this guy or the next guy. Mm-hmm. Charge what you're worth.
And that comes from just testing.
And it's okay to say no sometimes to clients. I mean, it's okay to like I gave you the example before we started the podcast. Oh, I want a 4K video, 3-minute longs, different cuts. Yeah. But I got $100 budget. Sometimes, like you said, you just have to refer them to somebody that maybe like a student or something that's learning that would want to take on that project.
Because I fell into that trap when I started. I wanted to be a yes man. I wanted to work on every project, where not every client is the right fit for you, whether it's budget, whether it's the way they go about things or what they believe in. So like you said, don't be afraid to say no. Do you have a particularly favorite project that you've ever done?
Yes. I think just the example that I gave you earlier with that floral shoot, that's one of my favorite projects. Before that, I did another theme shoot, and it was a Euphoria theme shoot.
Okay.
So I kind of rented out a space. I had 4 to 5 different people. It's just based off this TV show on HBO that was popular at the time. And I'm gonna wait till the new season. Maybe I'll jump. Yep. I'll show the behind the scenes and kind of the making of that show. But it's basically a show about different from people from all walks of life, different shape, size, color, etc. Sexual orientation, and I kind of put them all together, and all there for the common goal on a shoot. I definitely learned some things in my first theme shoot, some things that I regret not doing, like having a second person videoing.
Yep.
And getting a lot of the B-roll. I do sometimes I think I could do it all myself, and I really have to learn not to. Even though it's a passion project, it might be worth paying a couple $100 for someone to just come film some B-roll.
Yeah. It's difficult to hand off tasks. Where I've started to do that more, I bring a photographer and a videographer on all my video sets to take behind the scenes photos and videos, so I can create that mini documentary on the project or create behind the scenes photos. So I think it is super important to, everyone wants to do it themselves, be the person that started from nothing, but you only get there faster if you have help.
1000%. It just makes the YouTube video that much better later.
Oh, yeah.
You can actually show really good footage.
Instead of just like, oh, here's a tripod shot for 18 minutes and I just keep cutting from it. What are your goals for the next 6 to 12 months?
I think my next transition, I'd really like to do more, not video specifically, but more YouTube. I think that's my next play. I want to get a little bit more solid first, but within the next 6 months, I'd like to start a YouTube specifically on photography, very niche down.
Yeah.
Kind of a breakdown on some of my theme shoots, but I have lots of ideas that I've written down and goals that I want to try to get. I'm an obsessive person, so if I do something, it's going to be all the way or nothing. So I haven't ever started even YouTube Shorts, nothing. I'm waiting for that time, but I'd love to partner up with different photographers around the area. We can do a photo battle. We'll put us in a location, give us weird props and on a model, and then seeing everybody's different styles, and each of us gets 2 minutes a person. Do fun things like that.
I remember when I started watching a bunch of those, one of specific that I saw was Matty Hapoya and Peter McKinnon would do these drone battles. They'd both try to fly a drone through like this small spot. So I like the head-to-head battle thing. And hopefully in the future, when you get that YouTube rocking, you can get some, I think the Minot photographers would definitely be interested in that.
Right. Because everybody brings something to the table. Some photographers are better at posing. Some are better at being the general there. Some are better on the editing side. So it's cool to see everybody's different style.
In the editing style, that's my favorite part. Some people like more contrast and more colors, whereas someone else might like lifted shadows and more muted colors. So that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I always get interested in those drone battles, the color grading.
Yeah.
Because everybody's totally different.
Yeah, it's the color grading, man, in video is a headache. All right, last question I got for you. Mount Rushmore of business advice. If you had 4 pieces you have to give to people.
Never stop learning. 1000%. I think being a student of the game is the most important thing in any walks of life. I don't care if you're a boxer, editor, photographer, a hotel guy, a bakery person. Never stop learning. There's always more classes. Invest in yourself. The second tip is spend money to actually take that video accelerator editing course that's on Etsy or whatever it takes to get you that much sharper. I bought a course for underwater photography. Have I done underwater photography yet? No, but I want to at some point. And I'll tell you what, even if I don't use underwater photography, some of the tips I've learned on those video courses, I'm gonna apply it to different shoots. So it's only gonna go from there. So invest in your growth and be passionate about what you do.
Awesome. Where can people find you, Gabe?
Instagram is where I do pretty much 80% of my business, and then my website's another 20%. It's Vivvid Imagery at Instagram with 2 V's in the middle, or vividimagery.com with 2 V's in the middle.
We will link all of that in the description below. You guys can check it out. Gabe, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Again, guys, if you haven't, please rate and review the show. It really helps us get it out there to new people and get new guests on the show every single week. Thank you guys for watching episode 45 of the Minot Business Podcast. We will see you guys next Wednesday.